According to reports, Prince William fell silent as soon as the pictures reached his desk. If you know anything about how the palace operates, you know that silence is far louder than a yelling fight. 6 pictures, 1 gold-embossed invitation, 42 VIP names, and a little unapproved royal crest sitting exactly above Laura Lopes, who, for those who don't remember, is Queen Camilla's daughter from her first marriage, are all part of the story that is currently emerging from Windsor. And it seems that someone in her circle chose to try to use the monarchy's visual influence for a family art celebration, put a crown on a private invitation, and disobey a clear directive from the palace. Before we get into the specifics, please subscribe to Crown Updates to ensure you don't miss the next update if you like royal deep dives and behind-the-scenes analyses. The band gold crown now. We need to go back roughly 36 hours in order to comprehend why this became such a frenzy inside the palace walls. Just after 7 in the morning, an email was sent out. The message itself was unambiguous, but the tone was courteous, almost uncomfortably courteous. The palace enforced the legislation while Laura Lopes was organizing a private art presentation. The East Terrace Rooms at Windsor were not suitable for the function. There could be no photographers, no commercial sponsors, and no royal insignia on any invites. The directive was final. It was neither a proposal nor a topic for debate. The email was received by Laura's office, and the palace computers recorded a read receipt attesting to its opening, but no one responded. That in and of itself raised suspicions, and the royal aides began to become agitated. However, what transpired next turned that annoyance into a serious emergency. 2 delivery vans arrived at a Windsor service entrance around 24 hours later. They had enormous floral arrangements, champagne walls, lighting sets, and expensive gift bags. The documentation linked to these vans stated that the cargo was a private family delivery for the Queen, even though they lacked the required guest authorization. All the rules were altered by that one sentence. The first automobile was waved through the gates by the officials, but the second driver was unexpectedly detained, since one of the large cardboard boxes broke open while being transported. There were dozens of invitations printed on cream card material with thick gold accents and raised letters inside that shattered box, and just above Laura Lopes's name was a crown, the exact symbol she had been expressly forbidden from using. That's where things start to get strange. Why would someone print pricey invites when they were strictly forbidden from doing so? The next morning at 8:17, Prince William received the inquiry on his desk. However, there was a more sinister detail. This invitation's original design had been approved weeks before. It was tasteful, discreet, and totally safe. No message from the palace, no crown, and no indication that the British royal endorsed the occasion. After the warning was sent, the royal emblem was purposefully added. Prince William gazed at the 2 renditions side by side. With kind royal permission, he saw 4 additional words under Laura's name. There was only one enormous issue. There was no such authorization, not from the King's private secretary, nor from Prince William, and not from the office of Lord Chamberlain. However, 42 powerful guests had been misled. Those whose names instantly compel respect include former government ministers, gallery owners, and wealthy benefactors. This was no longer an informal family get-together. It appeared endorsed and official. Prince William ordered the ceremony to end right away. It ought to have ended there. It wasn't. Laura Lopes had already entered Windsor Castle. Just before 9 in the morning, she entered through a private family access point while carrying a bulky blue folder. 3 individuals who weren't on the authorized security roster stood at her sides. She was stopped in a restricted hallway by a senior staff member who politely informed her that the reception had been canceled. Laura didn't yell protest or make a fuss. She took out a single clean sheet of paper from her blue folder, looked the employee in the eye, and declared, "I have authority to continue." The employee's expression drastically changed when he read the paper. He moved to the side. What authority, I wonder, more quickly than any official communication that inquiry flew around Windsor Castle. In a matter of minutes, senior aides were trying to find someone to sign the document, and their phones were ringing non-stop. The typed instruction at the bottom was unmistakable, but no one could identify the signature. Please do whatever you can to help Mrs. Lopes. It seems to have come from the Queen's home rather than the King's. The average people doesn't seem to care about the distinction. However, there is a ticking time bomb inside the palace. Queen Camilla has her own schedule, her own charity, and her own staff. However, a direct command given in the King's name cannot be overridden by her household, particularly not in a royal stronghold such as Windsor. William the Prince was enraged. The document was supposed to be delivered straight to his workplace, but it never showed up. The issue had gotten worse because someone had taken it out of Laura's blue folder before Castle security could even make a photocopy. An order wasn't simply disregarded. The evidence had magically disappeared. Prince William went into complete lockdown mode and ceased treating this as a family dispute. He requested written staff statements, security camera feeds, access logs, and printed copies of all emails pertaining to the occurrence. Then he made his strongest demand to date. Queen Camilla found out even though no one had warned her. She did, of course. By 10:30 a.m., the Queen had abandoned her personal morning routine and was driving quickly in the direction of Windsor. She expressed her desire for a family discussion to Prince William. He replied in a chilly manner. This was no longer a family issue. Camilla didn't even reach the castle gates before the message got to her automobile. She was furious when she arrived, but not because the art reception had been closed. The fact that her daughter had been questioned by royal employees infuriated her. My daughter doesn't commit crimes. According to reports, Camilla lost it as soon as she walked into the room. Prince William gave a chilly reply. She should then be able to explain the missing paper with ease. Camilla refused to back down and insisted that there was no secret paper. Prince William was unconcerned. Across the shiny table, he slid a signed security declaration. An experienced employee had witnessed it. It had been discussed candidly by two assistants. It was neatly gone after Laura had practically utilized it to get around a restricted checkpoint. After reading the statement again, Camilla said something that turned Prince William's mistrust into pure rage. Maybe Prince William recognized the difference right away. Your staff, not the palace staff or the king's staff. These people serve the crown, he continued, bending forward. Camilla met his gaze and gave him a 3-word response. Yes, for the time being. It only required that. The room's temperature quickly decreased. This was no longer about a private art exhibition or champagne glasses. It had turned into a covert conflict over who would be in charge during the upcoming rule. Then Prince William saw something concerning on Laura's guest list. The name of a powerful real estate attorney had been manually added. He questioned why a private art reception would be attended by a real estate attorney. He asked for a fast background check and marked the name in red ink. The results were on his desk in 20 minutes. The attorney prioritized selling valuable collections, charitable foundations, and trusts over the guest list. Just as workers started demolishing the exhibition walls, Prince William entered the East Terrace chamber. Laura Lopes was chatting softly with an event coordinator beside the fireplace. 12 framed pieces of art were on a table behind her. Although they weren't on the official event list, they were exquisite and priceless. Every display label was examined by Prince William. 11 paintings were owned by rich lenders. The 12th was just 3 words, Private Royal Collection, with no lender's name. That label wasn't supposed to be there. The Royal Collection is not an individual's collection. A masterpiece cannot be borrowed for an informal gathering. Items are transferred, with strict security, meticulously logged, handled with gloves, and insured for millions. Movement of this specific painting was not even permitted. How, therefore, did it enter the castle? Laura said she had no idea. According to the organizer, it was concealed among the Queen's formal deliveries. Sending it was denied by the Queen's household. None of the three contradictory responses added up. Then Prince William saw that the elaborate frame had a little paper tag on the back. It was a valuation tag, not a museum tag. This work wasn't merely on display. They were attempting to determine its market value. Prince William became agitated at that point, yet he took decisive action rather than yelling. He gave the order to lock every door. Until they found out who actually owned the art, nobody was allowed to leave, use their phones, change files, or throw away any paperwork. Laura appeared astonished. At a family gathering, you can't keep people here. Prince William looked around the space. The moment someone placed the crown on the invitation, it ceased to be a family gathering. Hi viewers, are you completely outraged that Camilla's family tried to use an unauthorized royal crown on their invitations and secretly appraise a priceless masterpiece that rightfully belonged in a trust for Prince William's children, yes or no? Put yes in the comments if you believe the Prince of Wales was absolutely right to lock down Windsor Castle and stop this blatant exploitation of the monarchy. Laura then dealt her last card. She said that the painting was no longer part of the royal collection while gazing at Prince William. She said that her mother had received it in secret. It was a present. Who gave it to her mother? Prince William inquired. Before she spoke, Laura hesitated, and that hesitation gave him the answer. Charles the King. The room's whole power balance changed. Laura had every legal right to exhibit the valuable painting if King Charles had indeed given it to Queen Camilla. If he hadn't, millions of dollars worth of royal goods would have been stolen by someone using the king's identity. The truth could only be discovered in one way. It was necessary to bring Charles into the room. Camilla was desperate to stay out of his way. She disregarded the image as unimportant, arguing that the monarch was already under enough stress. She charged Prince William with creating a serious constitutional problem out of a straightforward family courtesy. Ignoring her, Prince William sent a secure private message asking Charles to come right away. Then an odd thing occurred. Suddenly, Camilla stopped talking. She glanced at Laura, who slowly turned to face the blue folder, the same blue folder that contained the authorization document that had gone missing. Prince William saw what they were saying. He didn't request authorization. He approached, picked up the folder, and threw its contents upon the table. Seating arrangements, insurance records, catering bills, and guest biographies all leaked out. No authorization paper yet. Then, from a concealed inner lining, a thickly folded sheet appeared. The employee had read more than one document. It was a significant thing. An extensive draft plan. The Queen's Family Cultural Initiative was the bold title across the top. Go over those words once more. This had nothing to do with renting a room in Windsor or a single little display. It was a whole project. According to the idea, Camilla's family, a few chosen business sponsors, and rich patrons would participate in a vast ongoing series of private cultural events held at royal homes. The official launch was stated clearly as Laura's Windsor reception. The launch was officially ordered to cease, but it went on despite palace security's belief that it was just a family art exhibit. The small gold crown on the invitation made sense to Prince William now. It wasn't merely ornamental, it was branding. In parallel to the formal royal operation, someone was painstakingly constructing a second, covert entryway into the kingdom. Once billionaires and powerful politicians became emotionally and financially committed in this project, it would circumvent Prince William and be impossible to stop. Without much fuss, King Charles arrived just after noon. He entered with a worn red dispatch box, peered at the masterpiece resting against the wall, and then took one look at the papers strewn on the table. His face darkened. He immediately recognized the art. Charles's devastating response to Prince William's question about whether he had given it to Queen Camilla legitimately was no. Laura jerked her head in her mother's direction. Camilla said nothing. Her mouth tightened. Charles asked who had moved the art and insisted on seeing the appraisal label. There was silence in the room. The signed 3-week-old confidential directive was visible when he opened his red package. The picture was to be put in a family trust, along with a number of other royal possessions. George Charlotte and Louis Prince William's 3 children were the only beneficiaries of this trust. The property lawyer was on the guest list for this reason. The valuation tag was covertly affixed for this reason. Because of this, the event had to take place right away before the trust documents were finished. Everything might change if the photo was made public, under Camilla's control, even for a single evening. The claim that Camilla already regarded it as her personal property could be bolstered by pictures and statements from affluent visitors. Although it wouldn't establish ownership, it would raise enough questions for attorneys to take advantage of and postpone the trust for years. William turned to face Laura. "Were you aware Laura stumbled when she was informed that her mother was the rightful owner of the artwork?" She looked down and refused to respond when he pressed her for the source. She didn't have to say anything to Charles. He turned to face his wife cautiously. There was silence in the room. Unexpectedly, Camilla denied any covert wealth transfer. She was adamant that Charles had promised her the photo years prior in private and without the assistance of attorneys. Charles gazed at her as though attempting to recall a discussion that had abruptly turned into a legal matter. Then Camilla took out an old, slightly yellowed piece of paper with Charles's handwriting from her bag. He wrote one hurtful remark at the bottom of the straightforward birthday message. "One day, the little landscape will be yours." The written commitment was there, but was it a legitimate gift? A heated discussion was triggered by that statement. It signified ownership, Camilla thought. Charles assumed it was merely an expression of love. Laura thought the legal issue had been resolved. The terrible reality was revealed to Prince William. A substantial asset was being taken from a trust intended for his children through a careless promise. The story changed. The question of whether Charles's sentimental remarks may take precedence over his formal legal documents turned into a judicial dispute. Charles placed the fragile paper next to the official trust instruction after taking it from Camilla's hand. To get his opinion, he called the property attorney. The attorney's response was direct and severe. Although the birthday message had excellent intentions, nothing was legally altered. The trust document that was signed did. The event had no authority to display the painting as Camilla's property because it was in a trust. Prince William wasn't finished, though. Even after the event was canceled, he was still curious about who had printed the fraudulent authorization certificate. He demanded that they locate the lost document. The search was ordered by Charles. Every room was investigated. Every printer log was examined and erased. Emails were recovered by palace employees. A terrified assistant found the source at 2:46 in the afternoon. Camilla's private office provided the authorization, but neither Camilla nor Laura had signed it. One of Camilla's reliable senior advisors signed the document. Prince William gave her the order to enter right away. She entered with assurance, didn't flinch, and had no notes. She admitted to writing the proposal, instructing delivery vans to use the Queen's secure designation and utilizing the royal emblem on the invites. Everyone in the room, including Camilla, was stunned by her explanation. According to the advisor, her actions were intended to keep Camilla safe. She thought Camilla's family and the formal royals were becoming apart due to Prince William's home. She was afraid of what was ahead. Before Prince William became king, she saw Laura's proposal as a means of securing Camilla's family a permanent position in high society. She had no desire for public funds or titles. She desired respect, access, and power inside the royal hierarchy. Although she had exploited Laura as a pawn, she believed she was protecting her queen. The ultimate treachery was this. Laura had no intention of stealing royal property. She was tricked. She received a document signed by a reliable senior official and was informed that the event had been approved. She was reassured that her mother was the rightful owner of the artwork. Laura decided to disregard the initial cancellation email. She made no verifications. She chose to believe the false world that was offered to her, therefore she disregarded the warning flags. Because Laura was Camilla's daughter, Prince William was not upset. Her name had been exploited to evade security transfer valuables, silence employees, and transform private desires into royal orders, which infuriated him. Charles sacked the renegade advisor right away. The elegant invites were shredded by him. The artwork was secured and put back in a vault, and the event was cancelled. Feeling humiliated, Camilla insisted on a formal apology for Laura's violent treatment. William the Prince declined. Charles made an effort to soothe them, but it only got worse. Before Prince William was even crowned, King Camilla pointed at him and accused him of degrading her family in order to establish his authority. In response, Prince William maintained his composure and stated that he was defending the crown because Charles had neglected to establish limits. After that, nobody said anything. There was a heavy hush. What he had said seemed to even surprise Prince William. Feeling the weight of the charge, Charles closed his eyes. Prince William was correct beneath the yelling and mayhem. Charles has been attempting to unite two very different families for years. He never clarified the boundaries between royal authority and personal attachment, despite his desire for peace. His young grandchildren were now on the verge of a property dispute due to one ambiguous birthday promise. One enthusiastic advisor had operated without the right authorities. Because she thought family access was more vital than royal regulations, one daughter had disregarded a security order. Charles intended to bring about peace, but instead he caused mayhem. It wasn't until Laura Lopes was removed from the property that the last blow was delivered. Once more, Prince William took up the guest list. 42 names were listed. One name was manually added at the last minute, so 41 people were invited to the event. William Prince gazed at the ink. It wasn't Laura's handwriting. Camilla didn't own it. Without a doubt, that wasn't from the advisor. Charles immediately recognized the handwriting on the paper. A few weeks prior, he had added that name himself, before anyone covertly altered the invitations, before anyone pretended to be unaware of the plot, and before the cancellation email, he inserted it. There was a palpable sense of betrayal when Prince William cautiously raised his gaze to Charles. Charles reclined in his seat. From the start, the king was aware of the reception plan. He even offered Camilla legal counsel, but he withdrew when it became too contentious. Without acknowledging his own role, he allowed the palace officials to shut it down. Charles never explicitly instructed anybody to steal the painting, but by remaining silent, he gave others the opportunity to infer his intentions and take appropriate action. Camilla thought her spouse had deceived her. The palace gave Laura a sense of authority. Prince William believed that the throne itself was a danger. Charles refused to step forward to fill the leadership void, and all three responded. William the Prince did not yell. Gathering the guest list, he approached Charles and carefully set it in front of him. "This may have been prevented by you." Charles did not stand up for himself. He didn't refute it. He glanced at the area on the wall where the painting had been only hours before. In the trash, he noticed the ripped gold invitations. At last, he pulled a heavy fountain pen out of his jacket, drawing a broad black line through the words, "The Queen's Family Cultural Initiative." He dragged the proposal in his direction. As he drafted a new regulation for the royal family, his hand trembled slightly. No member of a private family exercises royal power. With finality, he signed his name. The line was read by Camilla. Everyone in the room knew it was intended for Laura, even if her name wasn't printed there. Gathering his documents in silence, Prince William turned and made his way to the thick wooden doors. Charles sat by himself at the table behind him, surrounded by a ripped gold invitation that shouldn't have been there. a security order that arrived too late, and a birthday message that made excessive promises. The monarch was surrounded by powerful signatures, yet he sat in the ruins of the unambiguous words he never uttered. So tell me, did Prince William take action to keep Camilla's family out of the palace permanently, or did he act to shield the British monarchy from a grave threat?